Hearing the title probably makes you quite skeptical and think to yourself, what on earth is this channel talking about? But wait, calm down. Watch this whole video with me and see why I say this. The exact reason will be mentioned at the end of this video. The Philippines was once touted as one of the richest in the Asian continent. It was first in many innovations, such as the first to have a commercial airline, which was Philippine Airlines in 1941. It was also among the first to develop telecommunication systems in Southeast Asia, and in many ways, its economy, as calculated by the gross domestic product, was indeed one of Asia's highest in the few decades after the Second World War. The prediction and expectation for the Philippines were then quite high. It could have become the next Asian powerhouse until it didn't. It was surpassed by many countries, one at a time. Today, however, there is a renewed expectation. As the Philippines slowly becomes one of Asia's fastest-growing economies, many are now hoping that it will one day become an economic miracle. One of the many countries that the Philippines can look to for inspiration is none other than Japan. Japan is very similar to the Philippines. Both countries are archipelago nations, meaning they are both made up of a series of islands. Both countries are plagued with natural disasters. Both countries are strategically placed in their own region. Where Japan is in East Asia, the Philippines is in Southeast Asia. Due to these similarities, it may give the Philippines an opportunity to actually become the next Japan. Can the Philippines follow the economic growth of Japan? To one day ease off all its economic problems, fight off against natural disasters, and eventually give birth to some of the world's most successful companies? Well, to understand this, it is important to first understand their differences. Japan and the Philippines are miles away. Japan has a GDP of more than $4 trillion, whereas the Philippines with a mere $400 billion for the year 2022. If the Philippines wants to grow to over $4 trillion, it will need to have an economic growth rate of about 7% annually, and will eventually become a $4 trillion economy after 34 years. Quite a lengthy amount of time, but enough to pursue certain policies. The policies adopted by Japan are significant, and here's what they are and what the Philippines needs to do. The first aspect of the Japanese economy is its Ketsu system. These are conglomerates of interlinked businesses with cross-holdings in one another's stocks, fostering close-knit relationships between manufacturers, suppliers, and banks. Take, for instance, the Mitsubishi Group, a prime example of a Ketsu. This group consists of a range of companies in various sectors, from automotive, Mitsubishi Motors, to finance, Mitsubishi UFJ Financial Group, and electronics, Mitsubishi Electric. These companies are interconnected through cross-shareholdings and mutual business interests, creating a strong network that supports stability and shared growth. In contrast, the Philippine economy operates on a different model. Unlike Japan's Ketsu system, the Philippines is characterized by family-owned conglomerates. These conglomerates, while similar to Ketsu in being large corporations with diversified interests, differ in their structure and functioning. They are typically controlled by single families or small groups of related families, rather than the cross-holdings and intricate web of relationships seen in Japanese Ketsus. For instance, prominent family conglomerates in the Philippines include the Ayala Corporation, which has interests in real estate, banking, telecommunications, and utilities, and the SM Group, known for its retail, property, and banking businesses. These conglomerates have a significant influence on the Philippine economy, but they operate more as individual entities under family control, rather than as a network of interconnected businesses like in the Ketsu system. What the Philippines needs to do is to revamp its entire economic model. While it is not necessary to follow the Ketsu system entirely, what really needs to be done is to reduce monopolistic activities and encourage competition. Another aspect is the government's role in economic development. Japan has an entity called the Ministry of International Trade and Industry, or MITI for short. They implemented policies that supported the development of key industries. They were instructed to identify and promote industries that were deemed vital for national growth. It provided various forms of support, including subsidies, tax incentives, and low-interest loans, which facilitated the development of these industries. One of MITI's significant contributions was in the development of the automobile and electronics industries. In these sectors, MITI not only provided financial support, but also facilitated the transfer of technology from foreign companies and encouraged domestic firms to engage in research and development. This approach helped Japanese companies to become competitive globally. For the Philippines, this becomes the tricky part. Effective implementation of industrial policies like those of MITI requires strong political will and stable governance. The Philippines has faced challenges with political stability and consistency in policy implementation, which can affect the long-term success of such initiatives. Another issue is when Japan was developing its industries, the global economic environment was different. There was less competition, and the global trade system was less integrated than it is today. The Philippines would need to navigate a more complex global market, where competition is fierce and trade agreements play a crucial role. Finally, what Japan had done was implement a comprehensive land reform. Japan's land reforms post-World War II were crucial in transforming its agricultural sector and empowering its rural population, thereby creating a foundation for industrial growth. This was a key part of Japan's growth. Yet the Philippines, even until this very day, struggled to implement good land reforms. Powerful landowning elites have historically been influential in Philippine politics, often resisting reforms that would diminish their economic and political power. This was a huge barrier since the Second World War, and even up to this very day. While it is important to say that things are now changing, there is still work that needs to be done. Now, it is important to understand that these are mere speculations. If the Philippines pursues all of these, there is still no guarantee that the country may eventually become an economic miracle. There is just too much work that needs to be done. Since Japan started off its economic development post-World War II, they have already pursued various policies that enabled them to grow fast. For the Philippines, they still struggle with implementation, such as land reforms. Secondly, what Japan had and the Philippines lacked is a big American help. After World War II, Japan received significant support from the United States, primarily through the Marshall Plan and other economic and infrastructure rebuilding programs. This aid was part of a broader strategy to rebuild Japan as a stable, democratic, and economically strong ally in Asia during the Cold War era. The U.S. also helped in reshaping Japan's political and economic systems, leading to significant reforms in its economy, governance, and society. In contrast, the Philippines' post-war experience was different. While the Philippines did receive some aid and support from the United States after the war, it was not on the same scale as Japan. The Philippines gained independence from the United States in 1946, just after the war, and thus embarked on a path of self-governance and nation-building in a challenging post-war context. The country faced numerous internal challenges, including political instability, economic difficulties, and social unrest, which were compounded by limited external assistance. This difference in the scale and nature of American help partly explains the divergent paths of Japan and the Philippines in the post-war era. Japan's rapid economic growth and transformation into a major global economic power contrasted with the slower and more turbulent economic and political progress in the Philippines. Whether the Philippines can become the next Japan is still a mystery, but worth exploring for entertainment purposes. But anyway, do let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.